One of the best spiritual teachers we could ever want is the humble caterpillar. So let's just think about what life is probably like for this little guy. I'm going to say it's a little guy. It could be a little gal, but this one's going to be a little guy. So here he is, going along, inching through life, eating leaves, minding his own business, until one day he has this irresistible urge to do something different. And so he follows that internal call, and he finds a good place to hang upside down. And there he sheds his skin, and he burrows down into his chrysalis for 2 weeks. And during that time, something absolutely incredible happens. All of the caterpillar's body structures come apart. All of his cells break down into their most basic level. They become what are called imaginal cells. They could actually reform into almost anything, even something totally different and brand new. And so in this sort of imaginal goo, the caterpillar lets go of everything that he's been in order to become what he is meant to be. In this case, an exquisite butterfly. It's a miracle, is it not? Well, through this process of metamorphosis, the caterpillar is actually showing us how to live. First of all, trust and follow your inner guidance. Be willing to let go of the old in order to be born into the new. And there may be some time in between there where you just kind of have to hang out. But keep the faith. Stay open to possibilities that once seemed impossible to you. We would say in unity, let go and let God. Well, the caterpillar, we, just like the caterpillar, are meant to transform. Although we don't necessarily have what are called imaginal cells, we have something much better. We have the power to transform our lives whenever we want. And in fact, as what you were referring to in your opening prayer, Reverend Renee, that is one of the basic tenets of unity, and actually the larger New Thought movement of which we are a part. This idea, we have the power to transform our lives. You see, we create our thoughts, we create our lives through the thoughts we choose to think. And so if we change our thinking, we can change our lives. Incredible power right here within us. Well, this isn't only what unity teaches, this is what Jesus taught. Remember, Jesus was all about shifting consciousness. He was trying to shake up people's thinking so that they would see and live differently, so that they would have a new perspective, so they could step into the new. And as he says in John 10:10, I came that they might have life and have it
more
abundantly. Abundant life, full life, vigorous life. Well, fortunately, as we pursue that very goal as living more fully, we have 2 superpowers at our disposal. And the first one is our imagination. We have the capacity to dream. And the second one is our intention. We have the ability to act on that dream. And we need both of these. Both of them are vital. They reinforce one another. As New Thought author Claude Bristol once wrote, and I love this quote, you have to have a wishbone backed up by a backbone. So let's consider each of these. The first of them, imagination. You know, we take this totally for granted, but it's the most powerful creative tool we have for personal transformation. The great 20th century spiritual teacher Neville Goddard wrote quite a bit about imagination, and he went so far as to say that our imagination is the Christ. It's the highest expression of God in us. He says that Jesus taught us to have faith in our own imagination. So, when Jesus said to the lame man, "Pick up your mat and walk, and your faith has made you well," he was actually saying, see in your mind's eye that you are well, and you will be healed. And by the way, that's how affirmative prayer works also, is it not? So once we have this vision coming to us through our imagination, then we internalize it and we act on it. And we do that by setting an intention. Another incredibly powerful step. Setting an intention can move mountains. Andrew Carnegie, once the wealthiest man in America, said this: "Let me call your attention to a great power which is under your control. A power which is greater than poverty, greater than the lack of education, greater than all of your fears and superstitions combined. It is the power to take possession of your own mind and direct it to whatever ends you may desire." Wow. You know, we've been saying for so long in spiritual circles that the mind has the power to change reality, and now science supports that. Quantum physics reveals sort of a blast from 2 seconds ago. Quantum physics reveals that we do not just observe reality, we create it. The tiniest components of matter are subatomic particles, and they are nothing more than a bundle of possibilities until they're observed. Just all this energy moving around. And only when they are observed do they seem to take a certain form and solidify. As Lynn McTaggart writes in her groundbreaking book, The Intention Experiment, targeting your thoughts, what scientists call intention, appears to produce an energy potent enough to change physical reality. Wow, to change physical reality. There we go. So here we are with this immense power within us. We can change reality, we can change our lives. And so the question becomes, how and when do we use that power? Well, you might think a good time to initiate change in our lives is when things are going relatively well. Actually, the opposite is true. The most fertile time for transformation, and indeed the first phase of it, is when it feels like everything is falling apart. Can you relate to this? Is it not true that the greatest changes in your life, the greatest transformation in your life, came after the result of perhaps your greatest hardships? Of course. And that's certainly true for the caterpillar, isn't it? Just think of this little guy, and I know he probably doesn't go through this, but just think about this. He's hanging there in his chrysalis, and suddenly everything starts to implode, right? He's like, oh, there go my legs. There goes my body. There goes my antenna. We can imagine. Is this the end of me? And maybe there are times in your life when you've wondered, is this the end of me? Perhaps you suffered a major loss or a health crisis or financial setback, emotional turmoil, and the thought came to you, is this it? Is this how it's going to be from now on? I was having thoughts like that not all that long ago, back in December, as I was contemplating my 70th birthday, coming in 2 months, coming in February. And like most people who are facing a milestone birthday, my first thought was, how could I possibly be this old? Really, right? Like, what? Like, I don't feel that way on the inside. And then I began to take stock of my life and how things were going. And actually, it was a very difficult time because back then, and even prior to December, To be honest, when I left Unity Renaissance, I felt very alone and very disconnected. I missed all of you. I missed my spiritual community and my sense of purpose. But don't get me wrong, I love being able to travel and I love being retired and I love seeing my family when I want. But overall, I felt untethered. I felt like I was floating in space. And the thought came to me, and I'll admit this, maybe this is just how it is when you get old. You just ride it out from here. Right. So listen, friends, even we ministers have our moments. We may have preached that one door closes and another opens 1,000 times, but evidently there are still times we have to relearn it. And so in the very next month, something amazing happened. Richard and I went down to Ajijic, Mexico, which is outside of Guadalajara. We went down there to be the guest ministers at Unity of Ajijic for the month of January. And let me tell you, that is an amazing place. It is brimming with expat senior citizens having the time of their life. They're so full of life and energy and curiosity, and there are spiritual communities everywhere, including Namaste Village, started by James Twyman. That's where we were. And so they're very, very serious about their spiritual growth. There's a lot of work being done on that. They're very serious about being of service, about being in community together. But at the same time, they are enjoying life. There's this, communities are just abuzz with every kind of activity. I even learned how to play pickleball, and there was yoga classes and hiking and biking and concerts and lectures and a lot of dancing, usually to the older songs. So men and women in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, some with a cane or a walker, were joining in. It was so inspiring. It was like a revelation. It gave me a new vision for my life. And I thought, I want to live. I want to make the most of the time I have left. I have more to give. I have more to do. And I absolutely must be part of a spiritual community. And let me remind you, you are so incredibly fortunate to have this spiritual community and your leadership and the energy and the history and the love and the compassion, the growth that happen here. Don't ever, ever take it for granted. And so as the universe would happen in the month of March, I had the opportunity to go to Southwest France to work on a project with the community that published and now studies and teaches the gospel of the beloved companion, as was mentioned in the bio. And it was a life-changing experience, as I'm sure you can tell. I got down there and they said, you know what, there's more demand from all over Europe and other places. They want to know more about this gospel. We need more people to teach it. We need you. We need you to help us. Well, that was kind of all it took. We were in this gorgeous place, and wonderful food and health and, anyway. But after being there for a while, it totally captured my heart. And the message, this has happened before to me in my life, the message just comes through so clearly. This is where I want to be. This is what I want to do. And this is how I want to live. So it's a huge step moving to France. Believe me, I know. But it's not the first time I've made a big change in my life. The last big change in my life was when I came here in 2013. And as I have told you before, I fell in love with Unity Renaissance the first time I walked through those doors. And I know you know this feeling. I felt home. I felt I belong here. When you have that kind of clarity and that inner direction, makes everything easier. It certainly made it easier and honestly a lot more fun to be coming here to launch a new career in a new place. And let me just say in both of these examples, how incredibly blessed I am to have Richard in my life. You know, when I called him from France to say, I want to move here, and I'm like, you know what he said? Let's do it. Wow. Don't do that, you make me cry. And same when we came here, we were in partnership. Let's create a new life together. And so let me just say, my years here were the most fulfilling and meaningful of my life so far. That there really are not words to express the depth of my gratitude for having had the honor of serving you. And so, just as you have given to me, I want to give to you one more time. And so my message to you today is this: life is for living. It is not for existing. It is not for settling for less than you deserve. Life is for activating your life energy and bringing it to bear. You are here, as Jesus said, to live abundantly. Don't settle for anything less. I recognize that you may not want to move to France. And you may not feel like you can go to Ahihik. That'd be great if you could. Even the smallest change, just change it up a little bit. Do something a little bit different, right? Get that energy going. Get that joy bubbling up in you again. You'll know when the time is right. I have become completely obsessed with painting by numbers now. And but I get these masterpieces, and it takes months to do them, and I listen to Eckhart Tolle podcasts while I'm doing it. And it is profound. Simple thing you can do. Or you can learn a new language, like Richie's learning French. Big fun, right, Rich? So many things that you can do to make your life fuller and more interesting. So there are 3 steps that you can take. First of all, listen to what your heart is telling you. You know, we're very good at shutting it off. We're very good at, no, I don't want to hear that. That feels like too much. I'm just going to stay here in my comfort zone. Can you imagine if the caterpillar did that? Never went and hung upside down? So that message is coming to you for a reason. It wouldn't be coming to you unless you had the capacity to fulfill it. So notice, what thoughts quicken your energy? What lights you up? And then once you have landed on something, and typically what happens with me is it just keeps coming up and coming up, like it's just not going to let me go. Like when I became a minister, I'm like, no, not doing that, over and over until finally you listen. And then give your inspiration some room to grow. Once the idea sticks, let it marinate within you. Just mull it over a little bit. Don't dismiss it out of hand or talk yourself out of it. Just let it simmer. I found that when I'm considering a big change in my life, I usually go through a couple of stages. And the first one is, oh, that's great. No, I could never do that. And the second one is, well, maybe I could someday. And the third one is, what would it take for me to do that? And finally, you know what? I'm doing this. And that's the turning point, because then you commit. And when we commit to our intention, everything begins to flow, the way is made clear. That's because connecting with a high intention raises our vibration, and that vibration begins to attract to us what we need. It influences what is around us. My friends, the universe is calling us to live fully, not only for ourselves, but for our world. Right now, humanity needs the very and highest best from us. It needs us to show up with wisdom and love and compassion and a higher consciousness that reminds us after everything falls apart, the new is born, and to hold to that vision of a higher reality and a new world in which we know and we act as one. So why not give it our all then, right? Why not keep learning, growing, and giving? Ayn Rand, of all people, once said this: "Do not allow your fire to go out. Spark by irreplaceable spark in the hopeless swamps of the not quite, the not yet, and the not at all. Do not let the hero in your soul perish in lonely frustration for the life you deserve and have never been able to reach. The world you desire can be won. It exists. It is real. It is possible. It is yours. Love your life. Love your dreams. And you will do amazing things. And wherever I am, I'll be pulling for you." Let's turn now to our meditation. I invite you to get comfortable in your seat. Take a nice deep breath in. Release and let go. Let's do that one more time. Breathing in, filling your body with inspiration and inhalation. And release into infinite possibilities. I invite you to see yourself in this moment as that humble caterpillar moving through life, encountering obstacles, challenges, finding joy, appreciating what's important, and yet still something is calling you higher. Something is telling you, come this way. Say yes. I invite you to breathe into the allness of possibilities that are right there in your consciousness and in your heart, your beautiful imagination, your powerful intention. Remember that made in the image and likeness of the Creator, you too are a creator. What is waiting for you to create? What door are you willing to step through to live more abundantly, more truthfully, with more fulfillment? Take a moment now to open to divine guidance, to hear what Spirit is whispering to you in the silence. we feel our energy begin to stir as we feel ourselves coming to life with a new, fresh perspective, a new readiness, remembering that any downturn is temporary, any heartache and hardship, and holding to that truth that a new day will dawn for ourselves, for our country, for our world, for this knowing and for the path that leads us forward in grace and love. We are so grateful. Thank you. Thank you, sweet Spirit. And so it is. Amen.